This is the round 17 edition of the Brisbane Lions Fancast with Dom, Fay and Michael Whiting, and another brilliant fourth quarter has notched up another 4 points for us, Mike. North Melbourne, the latest victim. What did you make of the game?
It's becoming a habit, isn't it, Dom? It's
for us and for North Melbourne.
That's right. It's a habit for both clubs. Two out of the last 4 matches we've played have been big rousing comebacks and 3 wins out of the last 4. So it was a terrific performance, and obviously the last quarter and a bit was fantastic, but I didn't think Brisbane played too poorly in the first half. They were getting beaten around the contest occasionally, and North Melbourne's transition was fantastic, and they took advantage of almost every opportunity. I didn't think Brisbane was playing too badly, but I mean, once it gets out to 5 or 6 goals, you have to start getting a bit nervous. But I guess in hindsight, that's exactly where Brisbane probably wanted them. That's North Melbourne have coughed up a few of those, and they did it again. So terrific comeback, full of running again. Like the crowd got into it, and you just felt once they got within a goal or two that they were just going to go right over the top, and that's the way it panned out.
When we were chatting in the pre-season, you and I, and when we were planning this show and everything, one topic that we regularly would chat about was the Lions' lack of game breakers. So we thought they had a pretty honest, good, trying list, but, not really the stars. I think now we're getting to the stage where these stars are starting to come out, and we're talking about the likes of Hanley and Rich and even Mays in his first year genuinely have shown that they have game-breaking qualities.
Yeah, it's a good point because, on Saturday night, not many injuries on the Lions list at the moment, but 2 of the guys that are Simon Black and Brent Maloney, and probably when you're in opposition, they're 2 of the first 3 guys you'd tag generally. I mean, Blackie's been tagged his whole career. Beamer's been tagged quite a lot in Melbourne and now up here. All of a sudden, you're missing 2 of your prime movers, your ball winners particularly. But on Saturday night, we saw those 3 guys you mentioned there were fantastic. They were all instrumental in that victory. Sam Mayes, first-year player, has done tremendously well. His ball use, he's composed, as we've talked about numerous times on this show. Pierce Hanley, how good is he? I think he's one of our favourites, and he's one of Brisbane Lions fans' favourites in
even
general.
AFL fans in general.
I think so. He's really, and I mean, obviously the Irish element to Pierce's story obviously draws a lot of attention, but his ability and his ball use is phenomenal. And he struggled in the first half the other night. He couldn't shake Taylor Hines' tag, but then when he sort of went a little bit forward of centre in that second half, he was damaging. And same with Daniel Rich. Struggled the first half, but 12 touches in the third quarter. And those 3 guys that you touched on, you're exactly right. You're spot on, and they are guys that can break games. And we've touched on those guys, and I think one guy you wanted to bring up as well was Tom Rockliff. And Rocky's probably easy to forget sometimes because he doesn't do those flashy things. He doesn't have a booming kick, or he doesn't have lightning pace or anything, but back in the midfield the other night, he was tremendous, and certainly in my 3 best players on the ground anyway.
Yeah, I think that we forgot all too easily what Tom Rockliff can do. I mean, he did win a best and fairest playing in the midfield, in 2011, and he started showing that form again. He was, I think, just as instrumental as Rich was to eventually getting over the line.
Yeah, he was great, and I think he's played forward a bit recently, almost out of necessity. We mentioned that Black and Maloney didn't play on the weekend. Obviously, when they do, they're straight back into the midfield. There's a squeeze on for spots there, and I think Rocky's obviously a very good team player, and he'll do whatever the team requires, and that was, playing forward a bit in the past few weeks. But back in the middle, he's really said to Vossi, hey, leave me in here, hasn't he? Because I think he had 28 touches, and there were 7 or 8 clearances and 11 tackles. I mean, his work rate was incredible. So he's really going to make it hard for Vossi to kick him out of the midfield again, isn't he?
He gives you a foundation there in the engine room, which is so vital because we build off that, I think, and we've missed him in there, so it was really good to see him back. The interesting thing is, though, 2 brilliant fourth quarters have meant that we have come back from a combined 85 points, I think it was, over the Scott twins in the past month.
They've been fun press conferences to be in afterwards too.
I can imagine. The question is, though, is the fourth quarter comeback really the good thing we should be doing, or should we be aiming for more consistent efforts like the Essendon win?
Yeah, you wonder, don't you? Because they're really exciting, and as fans and for generating interest in the club and the sport in general up here, it's the way to go. Like you probably don't choose for that to happen, but it generates so much publicity and so much excitement among everyone. Like it's a terrific way to win matches, but as a coach, I think you'd be a bit concerned. You don't want to be giving decent teams 6 and 8 and 9 goal head starts because there's going to be times when you can't close that gap. So I think there's certainly Brisbane to be looking for a bit more consistency, and so you'd certainly want to be in the contest a bit earlier than what they have been, because as exciting as it is, you probably can't, make a season out of doing that, can you?
Well, I think Vossi said in his press conference earlier in the week that it is bringing fans through the gates and giving them something to watch. So maybe it's a tactic.
Yeah,
maybe we could win every week, but this is just a tactic.
So next time when we're 5 or 6 down, we'll just take it easy, guys. It's under control. We've got them right where we want them. So it's exciting anyway, but I think you want to see them a bit closer, a bit earlier in the match.
Moving on to the tall forwards and defender situation at the club.
It's getting cluttered, isn't it?
It is a bit, but it's working, I think.
Yeah.
It's a bit rough on Geordie Lyle, who's, down there, 37 touches, 7 goals, I think 19 marks in the reserves, and still is going to struggle to get a game this weekend against Melbourne, because it's just functioning quite well, the setup we currently have.
It is, and we sort of banged on about it a bit on here about giving young guys a go in the forward line, and we've only given them 3 games and dropped them, and how disappointing it is. And credit to Geordie Lyle, because I think it'll probably be easy to go back and sulk for a week or two in the reserves after you've been dropped from the ones, but he hasn't. He's gone back and done the best he could, so that if there is an injury or an opportunity, he'll step straight back in. But you're right, that forward line's functioning all right, isn't it?
Until it fails, I'm backing it in. It hasn't failed yet, and so honestly, it's gotten us, because the first time we really saw it happening was against the Gold Coast. Yep. And the 2 matches it's happened, it's worked quite well for us. So I'm happy to see it continue. I do think if Lyle has another game like that, though, you can't not pick him. I think you kind of have to. But it's going to be a question of how we do that, obviously.
That's where it's congested, isn't it? Because obviously a Merritt or a Staker can go to the back line, but then you've got to drop one of those back line guys. And I think Patfull's come into some good form. We've talked about Justin Clark quite a bit here, and how terrifically well he's done for a first-year key position player. And as I just touched on, I think Matt Maguire's jumped back into the team and fitted in really well. And
it's not just Jordan Lyle and Eifel. I mean, you've got Patrick Karnesis, who's been doing his job there every week for a while now. He only got 6 tackles in the first half before being taken off as a senior emergency, so he's getting his job done.
There you go, and that's exactly what the coach is looking for. The word is he has to improve the defensive side of his game, and tackles isn't everything when it comes to defence, but it's a pretty good indicator that your mind's switched on and that you are trying to rectify things in that department. So that's, again, great news. Like, he's obviously not sulking, and players in the twos are doing what they can. It's very competitive to try and get into that senior team, isn't it?
Jack Crisp is in great form. Pollock is now starting to capture some of the form at NEFL level that we've been wanting to see for a while. Jesse O'Brien is a bit of a wild card who's come back from injury.
He's had a pretty tough
really
run,
well.
hasn't he?
Yeah.
Jesse, with injuries and whatnot. So credit to him. He's really, he's battling for his future, I guess, and he's doing everything he can to say, hey, I can add something. And we know he's got pace, and he's got something that can add to the seniors if he ever gets a crack. But he's, I guess, like the rest of the guys, he's doing everything he can.
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be tough to crack into this side at the moment, but we've got players there who are ready to do it. Now on to this weekend's game against the Demons. Just a bit of a brief look to it.
Dom's nervous.
I am. I'm nervous for one reason, and the reason I'm nervous is because the last time we went into a game after some really good form, thinking we should win here, was the Western Bulldogs in round 1, and that goes down as one of the worst days of my life, I think. I don't think I'd be the only Lions fan to say that. Full of hope. This is the season. It's all going to happen. Then by quarter time, you're a bit like, oh, okay.
Yep. All like work wasted in 30 minutes. Yeah.
Exactly.
It was a bit like that. It was a horrible day. So I guess you're right in that instance that this is a bit similar. The form in the last month has been really good, and we go in raging hot favourites. It's up in Darwin, so a bit of a neutral venue. I'm sure they'll get a crowd up there, but compared to other venues, it's going to be probably a flat feeling. It's a couple of thousand Ks away from a major footy city, so to speak. It's it's got danger written all over it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And Melbourne has improved their form a little bit in the past few weeks since Neil Craig's taken over. But if Brisbane is fair income, if they're fair income, they should put Melbourne, not necessarily put them to the sword, but they should deal with this game quite comfortably.
Well, it's going to be a test of our maturity as well as our consistency as a group, because really we should get the job done. It's as simple as that. We don't have to win by 50. It'd be nice if we did, but it's hard to do that in the conditions that are often in Darwin. But you just have to go out there. You have to be the stronger, better team that you are and get the job done. And I'm hopeful that's what we'll see on Saturday.
This is your chance to play your 4 quarters. If you play 4 good quarters against Melbourne, you're going to win generally because the talent discrepancy and they've had a horrendous season. Has to play on their mind and has to play with their confidence, despite the fact they've got a new coach. But if you play 4 good quarters, you're going to win. So that's the test for Brisbane, and I guess that's probably how they'll be marked this weekend.
Yeah, because we have shown that if we are down and an opposition side pounces, we can be gone out of a match, as I said earlier, in one quarter.
Melbourne have, on paper, got quite a lot of talent, though. I think they've got some good defence. They've got a couple of forwards that can do things. Midfield's probably a little bit thin, and that's generally where a lot of games are won, and that's why they struggle. So whether Black and Maloney come back and who might come in and that's the area of the ground that Brisbane just has to put the foot down and dominate.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned to the Lions website. A bit later in the week, there'll be an exclusive interview with Daniel Merritt. He'll look forward to this weekend's game, as well as chat a little bit about the tall forward situation at the club. For now, though, that's the Fancast for this week. See ya.
See ya.